Sales is your most important thing in a business. 100%. If you don't have sales, you can't. You got sales, you got production, and it's just rinse and repeat. But your production has nothing to do if you don't have sales.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a 7-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to go deep into Jeremy Swihart's his sales system that he has in place here. He runs J² Landscape Design Build, and he's been at it about 9 years now. So, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, bro. I'm looking to jump right in with you here. I've seen all the stuff you're doing on social media and all the cool videos that you put out there and all that. I'm curious to see when we pull back, the veil, what's, how you're selling these projects and how you're actually working with these clients to bring these spaces to life. You cool with that?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So tell me a little bit about your business, like what you guys specialize in.
So it's J² Landscape Design Build, and we specialize in outdoor living, swimming pools, backyard remodels, mostly residential remodel work. Do a little bit of new construction, and some commercial now. We're kind of feathering in some commercial work. But probably the main bit of work that we do is what I like to call poolscapes. So swimming pool, patios, plants, lights, the whole deal around the swimming pool project, design, build all the way through. And we're kind of like a white glove service with that. We do the entire swimming pool, permitting, every trade. We just handle the whole deal all the way through, make it easy on the client. That's our goal, is to make it an easy project for our clients. So that's basically what we do. We also do like regular landscaping projects, patio projects. Mm-hmm. We'll be doing spring cleanups, just kind of the main staples. But we've gotten really big into doing the poolscapes here in the last few years.
That's great. And are you more design build or design manage or a hybrid?
Design build. Yeah, we have our own crews in house.
Got it.
We design it in house and we build it in house. We'll bring in subs for some things. If we get super busy, but generally it's our own crews doing the work.
Got it. No, that sounds good. I appreciate that, Jeremy. So, what's an average project size for you guys?
It's tough to say, but I'd say the majority of our jobs these days are 6 figures. We'll do some that are smaller and some that are really large, but mostly $100,000 to $200,000 is a pretty average project for us these days.
Got it. That sounds good. And did you start out that way, or was it different when you started out?
No, obviously it started smaller. When I first started, I was lucky enough to have some nice jobs, like in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. And that was kind of where we hung out at first, and slowly climbed over the years. A couple of years in, we're doing $50,000 jobs, and then it's $100,000 jobs. And then we're here where we've already done a couple roughly $200,000 jobs this year, and it's barely even March. So, wow. So we're getting more and more into the bigger jobs.
No, that's great. That's great. Do you prefer the bigger jobs?
I do. I feel like they're easier to kind of they're more difficult in a lot of ways, but they're also kind of easier once you get into them, to where the guys on the crew, they know what they're going to be doing every day, and it kind of gets into a groove. And we actually do prefer them. Just a lot less moving equipment around, driving. We can be a lot more efficient with our material, shipping to job sites, direct reporting, all that kind of stuff. So we do like the bigger jobs, but we also we still like to do those $30,000 jobs, $10,000 jobs, whatever. We'll pepper those in there as well. We like them all.
Great. That's good. So, Jeremy, if you were to go out to say 10 projects in the next month, how many would you close on average?
I would say I'd probably close maybe 40, maybe 50% of those jobs. Okay. And that's even after, if I go out to 10 projects, that's probably 30 or 40 phone calls, because I I'm very protective over my time. I just don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time, and I don't like to go waste a lot of time driving around and seeing people.
Hmm.
Um, so I try to weed everybody out as best I can before I go out and meet with them.
Yep.
Uh, but even then, you're still, pricing and personalities. There's a lot of different variables. It's hard to tell, but we'll probably get about 40-50%, I would say.
Okay. That's great. I definitely want to go much deeper into how you're qualifying people and all that here in a minute. But before we do that, um, what was your revenue back in 2024? Can I get an idea of the scale of what you're doing?
We did about what was it 2.3 million in 24, I believe.
Nice. Very good. Awesome. Yeah. So I'd love to dig into your sales process. If I was a customer, what would I experience going through your sales process? Can you take me for a ride?
Yeah, if you call into our office, we have an office admin that will answer our phone and do an intake with our clients. Basically, we have a series of questions, for like 10 or 15 questions, just kind of digging into your basic stuff like what's your name, what's your address, all the basic things, and then we want to figure out like why they called us, what their project is, what their budget, all those different things, and we've got a big long questionnaire. So our office admin will take all that information and then she'll Slack it over to me and let them know to send some pictures in. So they'll email us pictures. And then once we get the pictures and I've got that questionnaire, I'll give them a phone call and just kind of sit with them and discuss their project for probably 10 or 15 minutes. See if we're a good fit, see if they're okay with our design fees, consultation fees, whatever we're up to with that. And then if everything's looking good, we're on the same page, we'll schedule an on-site visit where we'll go out and basically do a site walk with them and dial in exactly what they're looking for as far as what the scope of this project is going to be. I'm going to try to get them ballpark information as far as pricing right while I'm there. That way they understand, like I'm not gonna go back and do a huge design and come back and be 3x what their budget is. So we're going to try to weed out exactly how much when I'm on site, I can basically tell them this is what I think we could get for your money. What you're telling me is you want $1 million project, but what your budget is 500,000 or 200,000. We can weed out those things right there and basically avoid all that, the shock factor and doing all this design work for no reason. So that's a big reason that we do those site visits, get everybody on the same page. And then the point of a site visit for me is generally to sell a design fee. Once I've got the design fee, then I can get to work on actually doing a design. And without the design or design fee, I can't even do a proposal. So basically explaining that to them, is that actually comes on the phone call before we go out there. But, when I'm out there, I'm selling that design fee, and that's the goal of that meeting. And then I'll come back generally and do a site analysis because it could take upwards of 2 hours to do a site analysis for a client. And we do a detailed site analysis. I mean, we're measuring the house. We're taking a lot of images with the drone. We have got a GPS system. We're out there measuring all elevations and site features. So we do a really good job with that. It takes a while. So I'll generally come back and do that. Then I do my design back in the office, give them a call when it's all ready, and go back to their house. And I like to present my design and proposal in person at their kitchen table when it's all ready at that point. So I think that's the whole process if you run through it all.
That's
So
great.
then,
Yeah.
and actually the point of that meeting is to get a deposit check. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm big on not doing a whole bunch of meetings. I want to have everything prepared for them when I do that presentation. I should walk away. My goal and my expectation of that meeting is to walk away with a signed contract and deposit. And it
Yeah.
doesn't always happen, obviously, but I want to have all the information and everything ready to present to them to where they're ready to write that deposit check at that meeting.
Got it. No, thank you for that. Now, the design, is it a fee or a deposit toward the project? How do you structure that?
I'll generally do, it depends. So most of the time on these larger projects, I will credit it back towards the project.
Okay.
It depends on the client and on the scope. Sometimes we will make the fee its own separate thing. If there's like a lot of design work that needs to go into this, we will not credit it back to the project. But if it's a $500 or $1,000 design, generally we'll throw the client a bone and throw it back towards the project.
Makes sense. Got it. Awesome. And when you talked about budget, you talked about that coming in on the initial call that your front desk people are taking care of. How is that handled to get you some kind of a framework of what that might look like so you can be prepared?
So it's just a basic question. Do you have
Okay.
a budget for this
Okay.
project? And it's either yes, it's $100,000, or no, I have no idea what this is going to cost. 90% of the time, it's I have no idea what to expect.
Yep.
So then I'm gonna try to suss that out on my call with them once I get on the line with them.
Got it.
So we're gonna try to get some sort of a budget before we go out and meet on site, and that could be so much as, describe to me what you want. I want a 10 by 40 patio and some landscaping, and I can say, well, a job like that could be $50,000 to $70,000, and they could say that sounds about what I was thinking, or they could say, yeah, right, I thought this was going to be 10 grand, and we've avoided me driving out there and wasting my time.
Yeah. I appreciate that you value your time enough to be able to pre-screen people. I know many in the industry, and me in the beginning was just run out to as many people as you possibly can and find out too late that they either don't have the budget or don't want what you have, or just aren't a good fit. And you've already burned all that time. So I appreciate that you're already way ahead of that. Was there some point in your career when you're like, look, I got to change this? Was there a story you could share where you're like, that client made this a very easy decision?
Yeah, my wife got pregnant with twins. And so that right there,
that'll do it.
Extremely limiting on your time. So
Yeah.
once we had one daughter at that point. She was 2, and then we had twins. And I mean, I just don't have time. I don't have time. Yeah. I can't let anybody waste any of my time, because I've got to get done what I got to get done in the day, and I've got to be home by 6 o'clock every night to help my wife. So. Yeah. There isn't spare time anymore. There's no working late. There's no Saturdays. It's just, you got to get done what you've got to get done in a certain period of time. And frankly, we've made more money since that's happened. So you just got to be more efficient and aware of what you're doing with your time.
Absolutely. Time management is very important, especially as you grow and have family and all that growing too. You can't be everywhere, and you only have 24 hours like everybody else, right? So we got to allocate it better.
Exactly. You got to be very careful, because people will, in this industry, especially this time of year. I mean, we got, I think, 6 or 7 leads yesterday over the phone. So, I mean, and these people are coming out of the woodwork right now because the sun came out and it's warm out, and they will waste just so much of your time right now if you let them. It's incredible how much time you can waste with these clients. So I'm big on, we're only going to meet with maybe one of those clients that called us yesterday, probably, and we'll be very careful of how we use our time with them.
That's so important, man. I'm glad you know that. So many don't. They just keep burning the tires off their car and saying they don't have time to work on their business. They're constantly in it because they're chasing leads that have no ability to say yes to them.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what is something in your sales process that you guys are just downright awesome at?
Well, I don't know. Probably just kind of working the whole thing with consistency, I would say, would be what we're good at. I don't think that there's any particular part. None of it's rocket science. It's all pretty simple. Probably a lot of people that do it exactly the same as I do it. But we just stick to the script and do the same thing over and over again. I think that consistency is probably what gives us results.
When did you discover that consistency in your sales system specifically was valuable and needed to be done?
Oh, I think that's something I kind of started out with. I knew that was a big deal. But I did sales before I started my business. I did landscape design sales. So I had already kind of figured out that, there's a process to this whole thing, and it's just the same thing over and over again. So I've always been pretty good about that. Doing the phone call, meeting with the client, doing the design, coming back, present it to him in person, trying to get that deposit right off the rip. That's something that I learned just really within the first couple of years of starting doing design and sales.
Yeah.
It's definitely served me well. I've definitely tightened it up over the last several years with having kids,
Yeah.
but we've always kind of had a system.
That's good. So many get in the business and they don't think about the sales side. They think about their equipment and building of the thing in the out in the field, but they don't think much about the most important part, in my opinion, is going to be if you can't get the phone to go from ringing to putting a check in your bank account so you can build something. If you can't get that to work and you can't close the project and serve that client, then I don't care how much equipment you got. It's not going to do anything for you besides sit there and rust. Right.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's very important.
Yeah, sales is your most important thing in a business.
Yep.
100%. If you don't have
Yep.
sales, you can't. You got sales, you got production, and it's just
Yep.
rinse and repeat. But your
Yep.
production has nothing to do if you don't have any sales.
That's right. That's right. So I like to argue with people and say, look, if you can't sell or you aren't good at communicating, then it's a major bottleneck in your business because your production only happens after the sale has happened. So if you're an industry average of 20 to 30% closing rate, 2 or 3 out of 10, it's a lot of wasted time moving around that you aren't able to go out there and produce. And so the question would be, is it truly a lead problem or is that more of a sale problem and, a sales problem in systems? So most of the time, we find that it is an actual sales problem where the communication side is really what gets most guys stuck because we like to build cool stuff. We're great with our hands, but to be able to help Mrs. Jones realize her truest, deepest need in this project and then to have you be the one that facilitates its creation is not exactly, hi, Mrs. Jones, what do you want? How much you got to spend? I'll be there Thursday. Like it goes a lot deeper than that. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people get into this business because they want to drive big trucks and run
Mhm.
excavators or draw pretty pictures and that sort of thing. But really, you've got to have that skill to be able to do the sales before you can do any of that stuff. So
Yep.
it's so important. Absolutely. It's so important to really be trained and be efficient and train your people that are doing it. It's extremely important to have a good sales process.
Yep, absolutely on that. So what's a big challenge for you right now in your sales system? Is there anything that's been a bit of a bottleneck for you?
Um, Not really. Let's see. Right now, specifically right now, you can you can just throw it in the air and you're going to sell something. I mean, the sun's out, it's March, it's pretty
Mm,
easy. But we really struggled in December of last year. We got slow for the first time since I started my business,
mm,
and it was difficult to get people to close. And I was doing a lot of just doing that grunt work of meeting with clients and getting those proposals turned around super fast. So when things take a dip on the residential side, it can be difficult. Um, we just had to kind of stick to the script and keep on um, presenting clients proposals, really taking swings at things that we usually wouldn't take swings at. Fortunately, we were able to kind of keep things moving along and stay busy. But yeah, right now it's easy, but you gotta be prepared for those times when it's slow. That's for sure.
yep, that's for sure. And it's sometimes a really good and simple and easy. That's when you got to be banking cash because you don't know when
Hmm.
things are going to slow down, especially on an election year like it was last year. And now getting into a new cycle, and that changes the consumer sentiment. Right? They start thinking differently. They say, well, now there's different fears out there. And that may or may not be the reason why they do a project at that point. So being ahead of the game, knowing that there's no guarantees on what comes in tomorrow, you can only use what you got today. And it's a big focus to be sure you're locked
Yeah.
in on.
Yeah, and what I tell everybody is turn off the news and
Yeah.
and just sell your jobs because if you watch the news
Yep.
every day, you're not gonna be able to sell
Yep.
anything.
Nope.
So I just tell everybody turn off the news and
Yep.
just put your nose down, and do your work.
That's right. Figure out how you can add more and more value every day. And you mentioned it earlier. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more creative on exactly what you do. If the things are a little bit tighter, you might be like, hey, I don't normally do walkways and patios. I do big outdoor poolscapes, but maybe you take in some patios and some walkways. You got the equipment for it. As long as you price it
Exactly.
accordingly, then you just have to be a little bit more flexible and be more resourceful in that time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you need to grow to the next level? Where you got your eyes set on right now?
Well, I think what we're doing right now is growing our team and adding more key people to the team. We've created a really great work environment where people want to work here, and we have an incredible team that just goes out and they do what they've got to do every day. They enjoy what they're doing, and we've made it easy for them to do their job. And super proud of that. But right now we've got to continue to grow the team in order to give those people a place to go in our company and make sure that they have a future here, that they can support their families, and then create a more sustainable business for myself that's gonna be able to operate without me being in the picture. So that's what we're focused on right now, is just growing our team. Where we're at right now is highly profitable. We have all the equipment we need. We have a brand new shop. Like, everything is dialed in, but we can't stay stagnant. We have to keep growing. That's just the fact of the matter. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now, is just to make sure that we have the pieces in place to have sustainable growth. It's not going to be fast, but it just to continually, add a couple people here and a couple people there, and make sure that they've got work and they're managed well. That's what's going to keep us moving to the next level.
I love that. Yeah, and you mentioned in there about eventually phasing yourself out of being, in the business. How are you planning on doing that in a landscape business? Not many guys get the opportunity to do that. They dream about it, but how do you think you're going to get there?
Well, the only way to get there is with a great team and great leaders within your team that are willing to step up and take the reins, and then also a system for
Yeah.
we have systems for everything in our business, be it sales, accounts payable, uh, estimating, production. Everything is dialed in on a system, and that's the only way you can really do it. I can for the most part leave my guys and my crew to do most of the things around here, just because they know what needs to happen, because we've created all these systems to make it happen. There's a system for it's simple stuff too. This isn't complicated. This is like, where do the keys go when you come back into the shop at night with your trucks?
Yeah.
Well, they're all labeled in a key box where those truck keys go. Where do the trucks get parked? All the parking blocks are labeled for that truck. All the stupid little simple things that create a series of systems are what's going to allow me to not be so involved in this business. And that's the goal, is to allow everybody to do their job and kind of make myself irrelevant.
I love that. And you're absolutely right in that thinking. If the owner is the one that everyone has to come to know what to do next, then you will always be needed in that. If you create systems, people go to the systems to figure out the solution, then you don't necessarily need to be there. You're just, as the owner, watching the systems and making sure that they're efficient. And if there's a problem, we go to the system and try to figure it out, and not to you. That's how you put space between you and the people in the field. And I'm so glad that you're doing that and have a trajectory of getting out and just become a business owner at that point.
Right, right. And if I do like to go in the field, I do like to run the excavators. You see my videos on Instagram.
Oh yeah, yep.
That's generally me operating. So when I'm out there working, I'm not the boss. I'm a laborer. I'm an operator for the guys out there. So I try not to go out and take over the job site. I try to let them have control of the job site, and I'll just go out there and work. And that's maybe once a week. I try to do it at least once a week, or once every couple weeks still, because it kind of keeps me in tune with what's going on. Like, where are our systems breaking down? What tools do these guys need? How's everybody getting along? Who's reporting to who? Who are the leaders? Who's causing issues? So it does allow me to be a little bit more in tune with what's going on. So I do like to get out there and work periodically, but not every day. And I don't want to be tied to it. I can't be tied to it every day.
And it's great that you're doing it on your terms. It's not like you have to be there as the operator. You choose to go out and be that operator because you enjoy that. And that's really what it's like. When you own a business, you should be able to do what you want to do, right?
Right. And that's not always the case, but sometimes it's not on my terms, but hopefully most of the time it is on my terms.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. So, what are some other challenges that you're focusing on here for 2025 that you see on the future that you guys are currently working on?
Well, we built a shop last year, like our
Hmm.
um, built a whole facility, office, shop, and everything. So
Hmm.
right now we're getting the yard dialed exactly how we want it. And it's going to take some time. We're pouring more concrete for. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Um, we're pouring more concrete for bins, material bins. We're
Hmm.
doing changing the grade and the drainage and adding hose bibs out in the yard and things like that.
Hmm.
Creating we're going to do a hoop house for soil bin and get irrigation and all that kind of stuff. So all those little things to dial in the
Hmm.
yard, get everything perfect and operating smoothly. That's what's on the docket for this year. But last year was huge for us, building the shop, and
Hmm.
we did a lot last year, and it was a huge year of money going out. So this year we're trying to make some money and restack the cash reserves, and um, we'll do those little things. But that's basically we're just kind of continuing on business as usual for this year out of our new shop, operating a little bit more efficiently.
That's great, man. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that's some big moves. I like it. Getting more
Yeah,
anchored in the community and be able to control more of all the parts of the business by having all your materials and everything on site. That's great.
right, right.
So, one last really difficult question for you is, how'd you come up with J Squared as your name of your company?
So what happened was right out of well, actually, I was working for another company doing like sales and design work, and a buddy of mine from the gym, his name's Jeremy, and he said, "Hey, why don't you do a design for my house and you come over and help me install it on the weekends and stuff." So I did, and we're out there planting trees and hanging out and having a good time. And he goes, "Man, we should start a company and call it J Squared." And I was like, "That actually sounds super cool." And
Yeah,
then so that's just what I went with when I started my company.
I love it.
So,
So
like
good.
it sounds like construction type stuff, and letter J. And, my dad actually works for me. His name's Jeff, so
Okay.
you know, there's J Squared working here. So it's cool. It sounded cool. That's where I came up with it.
I like it. That's awesome, man. I like your logo too. Nice and simple, and it's something you remember. So it's really neat.
Thank you.
So, as we wrap up here, what's one lesson that you learned from someone or along the way that has made the biggest impact in your life?
Oh, mm, I don't know if it's the biggest impact, but a pretty large impact is actually one of my. It's kind of in line with what we're talking about here. One of my professors in college I was doing landscape design in college, and we were doing all these designs and coloring them, and super pretty. And he showed us a design that he had done where it's just like literally pencil sketch,
Hmm.
very minimal, presented to the client, sold the job. And he's like, this is what I did, and this is how I sold the job. And he's like, the goal is not to do the pretty picture. The goal is to sell the job. So do the least amount of work you can possibly do to get the job sold. And so that's kind of stuck with me over the years is I'm always trying to do the least amount in order to communicate with the client what we're going to do and
Hmm.
to sell the job. Because you don't get any bonus points for pretty pictures.
Got it. Interesting perspective. Yeah, got it. Well, Jeremy, it's been a pleasure chatting with you here, and to get to know you and what you're doing over there at J Squared Landscape Design Build, and love watching your videos online. So keep it up. And listeners, if you want to reach out to Jeremy, what's the best way, Jeremy, for people to reach out to you if they want to or find you?
Uh, yeah, Instagram at J Squared Outdoor on Instagram.
Nice. You got some awesome stuff. I love how you're in the machine and you always see these. I'm like, how is he doing that? Like with all these articulating heads and all that stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, the Encons have changed our business dramatically, and they're a really cool piece of equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeremy, thanks for coming on here and sharing what's going on in your business. You guys are doing awesome. And I look forward to watching you grow and seeing what's going on there on Instagram. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.